Hey, guys. So, what I want to talk about is the Google Ads structure as a four-layer structure that I'm using for e-commerce, working fantastically well. So, again, some nuggets by somebody who's actually running Google Ads, and I just want to give you a bit of a framework. So, obviously, a lot of the content I'm providing is about running a search campaign, getting to maximize what we can from those search campaigns by vertically scaling. And then obviously, once we've saturated the vertical scaling, which means that potentially we've increased the budget, CPCs are starting to rise, and we're not getting the conversions, then we can look at to horizontally scale. And horizontally scale is where you're adding in other campaigns. There's nothing kind of complicated about what I'm saying, but you kind of use the terminology and the lingo for the job that you're doing. And obviously, for a Google Ads person, a digital marketer, then vertical scaling just means increasing the budget upwards, and then horizontally scaling just means adding other products within the Google platform to what you're doing. So, obviously, with vertically scaled, horizontally is where we're adding in a performance max campaign, a demand gen campaign. Now, this is going to be more focused on e-commerce, so we're going to bring in shopping campaigns. I want to give you the framework that's working well. I want to give you some nuances, some understanding to how I think when I'm creating campaigns and how to get them maximized, whether this smaller budgets or much larger 6, 7, 8 figure brands that we work with. So it's the Google Ads structure, four layer framework. So if you manage it, you've got a funnel, and if you've got a funnel, then let me just jot something down for you so you can kind of visually see it. I wasn't going to prepare anything, but I just wanted to kind of give you a bit of understanding into what I'm saying. So let's jot this down. So what it is, a funnel. So at the top is performance max campaign. Now, what the performance max campaign will do is because it's at the top of the funnel, it will act as a broad, almost like a reach campaign where it will try to reach as many people as possible. And the way that we structure these campaigns is, if your e-commerce, again, remember guys, it's more e-commerce, lead generation is slightly different. If you're thinking of broad reach, then one of the caveats is, if you've got an e-commerce store and your pricing is very different, you've got some very low price products and then some very high price products, potentially you might want to have two performance max campaigns where you're just focusing on different pricing, because you don't necessarily want to mix those up because it can be a little bit confusing for the algorithm. So very different pricing points, have two performance max campaigns. Yeah, otherwise have one performance max campaign, have that set it into asset groups. Run a feed into your performance max. So you don't need to do headlines and descriptions. The feed running into a performance max is working very well. It has done for a while. But the caveat to all of this is, make sure you're excluding your brand. Now, by excluding your brand, you're not letting Google go for the lowest hanging fruit. This campaign, guys, so if you want a campaign to be a top of funnel, looking for new customers, then by definition, if somebody is looking for you, your brand, your company, then they're going to know that you exist already. So they're going to find you, but that's not what this Performance Max campaign is about. This is for looking for new customers. So we want to make sure that it's acting differently. That's why we exclude our brand. So we want new customers, not customers that know us already. So that's why we set this Performance Max campaign up the way we do. Now, underneath the Performance Max campaign will be a shopping campaign. Now, the reason that the shopping campaign works well with a Performance Max campaign, it's all about the nuance. It's all about knowing how to set these campaigns up. So what we want to do is make sure that with the shopping campaign, which sits underneath the Performance Max, we can run this based on high intent, medium intent, and low intent. So what was it? Well, high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So the way that we structure this is, the high intent keywords that we're targeting, we want to have that in the high priority shopping campaign. And again, we can set these through the parameters of a shopping campaign within Google. And we want to make sure the ROAS for the this particular type of shopping campaign is set lower than what I'm going to tell you in a second. So low return on ad spend. We want to then have a medium priority shopping campaign in which we're looking for more for generic terms, but this needs to be set at a higher ROAS. Now, the reason is we don't want the campaigns mixed up, guys. We want to make sure that we're trying to keep separation as best we can. And what I often find is the structure of campaigns is people are just creating campaigns for the sake of creating, very complicated, getting things mixed up. What I'm trying to do is give you some clarity to what's working. And like I said, the PMax is a different campaign to a shopping campaign. Shopping, you can separate it by high priority, medium priority, which I've just explained. And then we want to have a low priority, which you could put in as a brand. So your brand could be that high priority for the shopping campaign. So again, we've created some sort of structure for the shopping. Now, if we layer on the next campaign, which is going to be, let me get my little diagram going. It's going to be a search campaign, guys. So search campaign, bread and butter of Google, the most expensive place to advertise on Google, but we have the most control over it. It works well. It's going to be higher intent keywords. We're going to build the keywords around high intent, closely knit ad groups. So the ad groups that you're creating are going to be around the keyword themes that you're trying to create. And what we're trying to do here is give the search campaign as much relevancy as possible. And the reason we do this is because we want to make sure that we're getting good quality scores, which is going to rank us better. It's going to make things cheaper for us to advertise on Google. So that's kind of the crux of it. So again, we want to make sure that we are targeting the keywords based on keyword themes, which is going to give us a better quality score. And then obviously we're looking at the landing pages and or the website, depending on where you're sending the traffic, which obviously we should be tracking as well, because it's not just about Google Ads, it's where we're sending that traffic to. And then the last, la resistance. I don't know if you can read that. That says brand. So the reason that we have brand at the bottom is if somebody's searching for you, they're going to know, who you are. If you're XYZ brand, they're going to know that by searching for you, that they're going to see you guys. Now, the reason we search brand, I had this conversation with a lot of owners and other agency owners, and there's a misconception about brand. Why do we need to target brand? We're going to get the term anyway. You're not going to get the term anyway, guys, because competitors will sometimes run competitor campaigns against you, or if competitors are running performance max campaigns without them knowing, and again, not like us, because we are sophisticated advertisers, but they won't even know that they're targeting you. I've seen this time and time again. We didn't know that we were targeting X, Y, and Z, but the PMax will do that for them without them realizing. That's why we need to make sure that we're targeting the brand for our product or service, because we want to make sure that anybody searches for us, then that they will find us. And again, you can then optimize that. And I guess when I say optimize, I just mean just check the auction insights to see where you sit. Little story, I worked with a brand, quite a big brand, for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then they wanted to do their ads internally. So seeing what I did and wanted to do it themselves, yep, not a problem, absolutely fine. And then about 7-8 months later, I got a phone call. Can we jump onto a call straight away? It's urgent. I was like, yep, sure, what's up? And what was happening is that the competitors were targeting them, and they reckon they lost between 30 to 40,000 over a period of 3 to 4 weeks just by not targeting their brand. And again, so we put a brand campaign together. We got that up and running within a couple of hours, and then it took about 2 to 3 weeks. We were then back at the top where we belonged. And then as we progressed over time, 3 or 4 weeks later, the amount of competitors targeting us was getting less and less and less. And now we run it on about 25 a day, and there's no competitors targeting us in any way, shape, or form. But again, that was because we ran a brand campaign. If we didn't, then this brand would have lost a lot of business, and that's just by doing nothing. So make sure you understand what you're doing, the structure. I know Google came out about 6 weeks ago to say that it wanted to stop this whole shenanigans around brand campaigns. because they wanted to improve the user experience. So when somebody searched for a brand, that they will go to that specific brand, or if they searched for X, Y, and Z, then it obviously wasn't being seen by another brand. So I'm not seeing a lot of that happening right now. What I'm seeing is it's still running brand campaigns. Until I see any different in the dashboard that I'm running, I will still run brand campaigns, which I'm doing still now. You don't need to spend a lot of money on brand, but all it does, it allows when somebody searches for you, whether that's X, Y, Z company, then you will be seen rather than a competitor. So what was happening with this particular brand? Somebody was searching for them, and they were being seen second or third on the page of sponsored links. So other companies were on top of them, and simply they were running. The competitor was running a competitor campaign against them. It's as simple as that, guys. So nothing difficult, but you've got some good structure now. If you're running e-commerce, go do it. I've given you a great structure. PMax, top of funnel, shopping. I've told you priority, search, the bread and butter of Google, and then we've got the brand campaign. Nothing complicated here, guys. All very straightforward and simple. But again, it's just about really making sure that we implement the strategies that are working right now. As always, if you have any questions or want me to look at your Google ads, let me know, and have a fantastic day.